Hey, this is Mark Goldberg from Mark Vlogs Watches, and today we are going to talk about the external dive bezel versus the internal dive bezel on a dive watch, and how those compare when timing an event to using a chronograph with the seconds hand and the various subdials. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, it's time for a quick fist watch check. And today I'm wearing the Ball World Timing Diver. It's a $1,200 pre-order beater special. $2,500 if you want to get one now. I'm really enjoying it. Anyway, let's talk about how to time that bun in the oven.
Okay guys, I have laid out 3 watches for you here, and naturally every watch can be used to time things, but these 3 watches here are specifically geared towards timing events. On the far left, we have the Ball Watch World Time Diver with an internal dive bezel. In the middle, we have the Rolex 50th Anniversary 43mm Red Line Sea Dweller. It's quite a big name. And on the right, we have the Zenith El Primero Chronomaster in 42mm. 44mm, 43mm, and then on the right, 42mm, although just due to the way I've got them arranged on the floor here, it's a little difficult to get the relative size. So let's talk about the Rolex first, because this has the most typical dive bezel. And you'll hear the clicks. It looks a little dirty. You give it a quick pant leg polish. You simply turn the dive bezel. You can hear that positive click. And it's unidirectional. It'll only go this way. It won't go that way. And that is because theoretically these were invented and used for divers who had to time the amount of oxygen that they would have underwater. So the diver would set the minute indicator here, the triangle with the loomed pip right at the minute hand, and then they would know when they had reached their 10, 15, or 20 minute oxygen limit. And the reason that it'll only turn this way is so that if they bumped it underwater, they could only subtract time from the dive. See, we're getting closer to the 15-minute mark. They couldn't add time to the dive and accidentally run out of air underwater. So this is the way this is used to time, pizza in the oven or a steak on the grill or a business meeting, or that massage. Make sure your happy ending doesn't come too quickly. But we put that indicator at the minute hand, and we can roughly track at any point how many minutes into that event we are, although it's going to be really rough to track it to the second. Okay, that's what the external typical dive bezel is for and how it works. Now, picking up the ball, we're not going to delve too deeply into the specifics of this dial, but let me just tell you why you're seeing all the text around the edge of the dial. First, you are seeing the minute indicator. There's the triangle right there, which we can then move equivalent to our minute hand to time an event, but you're seeing cities. You're not only seeing the 5-minute mark indicators and the minute hashtags, but you're also seeing cities. See, there you got Paris, because this is a world timer. And at any given moment, you have to choose whether you're using this watch for its dive function or its world timer. Right now, we're going to focus on the dive function. Okay, so this dive bezel, it does move, but it doesn't turn here. We have to unscrew this crown. This is the typical traditional crown that allows us to set the local time, the day, the date, and also mess with the world time. That is a subject for another video. But this crown here controls that dive bezel, which is internal, can't be bumped or moved. Once we unscrew that, we can then turn that dive bezel either way. So this external dive bezel is unidirectional, and that is safe because it is intended to be screwed down and can't be bumped. So for timing pizza, it's more convenient because you can find your minute hand. If it was quarter after, you wouldn't have to go all the way around. You could go this way. So you can go clockwise or counterclockwise, but you would just set your triangle equivalent to your minutes, screw that back down, and now you're timing your event. So once again, great for pizzas in the oven, business meetings, just, you know, things that you need to time. But once again, you'll time it approximately to the minute, not too hard there, but you're definitely not going to get it right down to the second. If you need to time an event, let me clean it. If you need to time an event right to the second, that's what this is for. You can see the second hand. Well, let's talk about these dials, I guess, real quick. This subdial here, which you see moving, is the running second hand for the chronograph. This is not a dive watch, it's a chronograph. And that's just keeping the running seconds for the watch. And here we have what is called the minute totalizer, and this is the hour totalizer. So with this, you can time up to the second a 12-hour event. And here's how you do that. I've just clicked the top pusher, that starting the second hand of the chronograph, which is that red seconds hand with the star Zenith logo counterbalance. And once that has gone all the way around once, that top right-hand subdial will click over to the 1 position. So we'll just let it run until we get to that point. Once it runs around 30 times, that will come back all the way where it is now to the 30 position. However, in the hour totalizer, it'll move halfway to the first hour. So this is basically how this guy works. I'm just kind of tap dancing right now for another 15, 17 seconds. But the nice thing is that if when I hit this again, it'll stop that seconds hand. And I will have timed an event. I can time it down to the second. In fact, I think I can time it down to the 10th of a second because you see all those little hash marks. So watch the upper right hand as it plops over to the 1 position there. Okay, I'm going to stop that. Now we have stopped timing the event, but we can kind of read off exactly how long. And you can see the little mark on my finger. You have to push these guys pretty hard. And then when you want to return everything back to the home position, you push the bottom button. So just a real quick video on how to time things with watches. I'll tell you, I find the chronograph style watch on the right to be certainly the most precise way you can time anything. But these guys are far easier to use, and they're also far easier to read. And of all of these watches, this one, of course, would have to be my favorite. Got a little fingerprinting on me, but it's a beautiful thing. I know those of you with OCD are having little problems right now as I try and line that bezel up. I call this bezel my fidget spinner. It's fun to play with, guys. Okay, well that's how you use an internal and external dive bezel and a chronograph to time things. This is Goldberg, peacing out.
Paint the sky your